Today we're talking about Yemoja because we actually have a lot of new information about her. I was waiting for the closer look to come out today and I thought it was not going to happen, and then shortly after I posted about it in a group chat, it showed up. So here we are, last second, and we're going to go into Yemoja's closer look, and it was so worth the wait because there are so many interesting new mechanics that we're going to talk about. But let's start at the start. Who is Yemoja? The Yoruba Orisha of rivers is caring, wise, and powerful. Yemoja is seen as a mother to all of humanity, as well as many other Orisha. This earned her the name one whose children are like the fish in the sea. She will arrive in SMITE at a time of need. As Oloran faces a possible defeat in the underworld, he will send his chameleon messenger, Yejoma, to ask Yemoja for help. Now she will leave her home of the Ogun River and venture out into the world. Our vision. SMITE will revisit the Yoruba pantheon rather quickly. We still do not use pantheon as a driving force to decide new gods, but Yemoja brought everything that the game needs right now. Quick reminder, this gets asked every time, so again it's emphasized here, pantheons aren't being filled, she just was fitting at this moment. She offered fantastic visual diversity and allows for true support guardian gameplay, which players are eagerly awaiting. Finally, she is the perfect character to aid Oloran on his quest to revive the fallen gods and prove himself as King of Olympus. Yemoja's primary themes include her powers over water and her helpful nature. Water can be deep and terrifying to many, but Yemoja is more specifically a goddess of shallow water that gives way to life and civilization. Her visuals and kit are designed to support this theme. So what I was talking about yesterday is not going to happen. She is literally just going to be the goddess of shallow water, and Olokun will not have any relevance here. Theme: caring for and protecting others, specifically through the use of water. Visuals: fresh, clean, healing water. An elegant motherly goddess, sparkling and flowing clothing. Personality: protective, caring, and calm. Perspective: respected and reliable. Yemoja's healing powers will play a key role on the battleground as well as in the SMITE storyline. Although Oloran might make his way to the Lost Gods, he would not have the power to restore them to their previous powers. Only Yemoja could accomplish such a feat. Yemoja is originally a Yoruba Orisha from West Africa, but she has also become prominent in other regions such as Brazil, where she is known as Yemanja, or Cuba. We specifically chose to focus on her West African origins for abilities and portrayal in SMITE. The visual iterations on this goddess involved many explorations of African clothing, mostly using modern Nigerian attire as reference. This includes formal robes fused with characteristics from her lore. Even when only looking at traditional Yoruba descriptions of her, there are differing accounts on if she's a mermaid or a human. We specifically chose to go with the human depiction because we felt it better fit our goals for her visuals, theme, and gameplay. Yemoja should display an impressive level of fantasy while still being clearly inspired by African culture. Yemoja is a goddess of many other things besides just water, and a few of those things, such as crystals or the moon, could also be adapted into her design. Although we didn't want to make her a literal mermaid, her dress in various iterations was intentionally designed with mermaid imagery. There are scale patterns to reference this, but the overall shape is the more clear sign. She wears a 7-layer skirt to represent the ocean waves or a mermaid's tail. She's also wearing cowrie shells, which serve as an aquatic symbol as well as one of prosperity and wealth. Now if you take a look at the different iterations of the design here, we can see that some of them are more influenced by traditional clothing and others are a bit more open in their interpretation. We can also see the different concepts that were explored here. We, for example, have a water cascade design, we have a very obvious mermaid fishtail design, and then we have some hybrid versions, some that focus a little bit more on having those crystal elements and beads across her body. A whirlpool design, I think that would have been very interesting, just like wrapping around the floor and kind of having a similar flow to how her bois is designed. But overall, we can see the direction here very clearly already. It seems like the designs were very much aligned in how she was going to look like. We don't even see a single design here that actually ever fully considered the mermaid tail in the first place. After many adjustments in her clothes, hair and accessories, we were able to find something that felt right for her. She is elegant yet strong. She looks defensive but not overly armored. She clearly looks like she has the mastery of water and the intent to protect those dear to her. And I think with this art, Hi-Rez really was able to make her stand out. You have very clear and distinct facial features, you have a unique hairstyle and a unique headdress, so that part absolutely worked out for me. What I find interesting is that there seem to be two different styles for the dress. I'm not sure if the secondary version is just one that made it simpler so they didn't have to repeat the entire style for every draft here, or if they're actually two different effects depending on maybe what state she is in. We get to that, but she seems to have two different effect states at least that could maybe change the shape of her dress. But I also really hope that the dress will look as cool in game as it looks here, because I think that will be some hard work to make that look actually like it's designed here and make it still flowy and look like fabric at the same time. In addition to having various small details and elements that I've barely seen on other guards, she also seems to not have the default body shape that we see with many of the female characters in Smite. At least from these designs here, it looks like she has wider shoulders and slightly thicker arms as well, so it might be that she has a bit more of a Guardian-ish look to her with a slightly more muscular back as well, which would very much fit her theme. Again, I hope this actually turns out to be the case in-game as well, because sometimes it just kind of gets lost or the design doesn't translate over perfectly, but I'm assuming with how Hi-Rez described her, this will actually be the case. And last but not least, we can also see her recolor here, which gives her more of a fiery look overall. And now for her abilities, where the really crazy stuff happens. Yemoja's kit is designed so that her primary function is backline defense for her allies. She is a Guardian, a class defined by magical damage while having high health and protections. Guardians in Smite can be quite flexible, but Yemoja is intended to focus more on utility and healing rather than damage. Her Mana is replaced with a new resource, Omi. Grüße gehen raus an alle Deutschen, die jetzt kurz lachen mussten. This was designed with specific goals in mind that heavily influenced Yemoja's kit design. Yemoja's abilities all cost Omi instead of mana, and Omi regenerates over time. I cannot take this seriously, I'm sorry. The main difference is that Yemoja's abilities have no cooldown. They're instead controlled by the Omi's regeneration rate. This allows her to fire multiple abilities in a row. Using an ability multiple times will prevent her from firing other abilities, even though they weren't recently fired. Her ultimate ability does not consume Omi and has traditional ultimate level cooldown. Right, all fun aside that I can have with this name, she is very interesting in that regard. She is a non-mana guardian and a no cooldown guardian. How crazy is that? She has the exception with the ultimate that still has a cooldown, but everything else does not have a cooldown, and I think that's gonna make playing her and playing against her super unique, because you can't just think, okay, she just used that ability so it's now on cooldown. That's not how it's gonna work. Instead, you always have to be prepared that an ability might hit multiple times or that an ally might get multiple heals or similar. But if you think her unique parts of the kit stop there, we're only getting started. She is the first Guardian with a ranged line basic attack. We had Sylvanas before, he had a ranged basic attack, but it wasn't a line, it was an AoE. And now she will have a line basic attack, making her probably feel a fair bit more like a Hell or an Afro support, these kind of mage style support types, and that's very much intended. She also has basic attacks that pass through allies and apply a heal over time to them. So this is going to be another interesting mechanic, because that means you want to position yourself behind your ADC, for example, when you're supporting them, and that way hit the wave with the basic but also apply a heal over time to them. It's going to be very interesting how often this can be applied or how much this heals for, due to this being pretty much spammable from the perspective of just using basic attacks. Also, a new system that replaces mana, Omi, we've talked about this, and a single ability that alternates between two different abilities on each use. So I guess in a way it would still count as 2 abilities. I don't know how far they're intertwined. It's like a mini stance change. And then she also has damage that increases against enemies with active health shields. This is very interesting. In a theory crafting group, I was talking about this not too long ago, how we could have a god that directly counters shield in a way. Now that we have quite a few shields in the game of different variations. You have Shell, you have Odin, you have Nemesis, you have the goddess of demonetization who now applies a lot of shields. You have Gap and all this stuff. So having something that works specifically against this is going to be very, very interesting. However, she's also not a high damaging god, so I'm assuming it will not be a massive impact as it just increases the damage against enemies with shields. And then the ability to launch your allies in certain directions, effectively giving them an additional movement ability. Very, very interesting. Could be like an escape or an engage of some sort for a tank that normally doesn't have that mobility. And also keep in mind that due to how her kit works, she would be able to use this multiple times and just launch her team forward or away and save them. So really interesting mechanics that we will see here. For years, SMITE has had a group of characters that feel like they should be able to play as supports, but can't quite do it because they lack the defensive stats or the AoE CC. Yemoja is intended to fit that role perfectly. She has many of the aspects of a traditional healing mage, balanced with Guardian stats and CC. We feel like this is a perfect spot for the next defensive focused Guardian. Yemoja will be coming to rescue multitudes of gods or players. Let the healing waters of Orgon drift your team out to a smooth victory with Yemoja by your side. I am very excited for this goddess. I want to see how she feels in game, and I'm thinking that a lot of you might be too, just based on the amount of unique mechanics that she will have. And I really hope that the design matches that what we've seen so far in game as well. And if that's the case, then I'm very happy with this, and I'm also happy that Hi-Rez is again taking bolder steps and trying to create more unique gods. We will find out tomorrow in the patch notes. If you want to stay updated and you're new to the channel, you know what to do. And other than that, see you for the next one tomorrow. DukeSloth out.